Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for making time through your busy day to join this session. I'm Sriram Prabhakaran. I head the South Region's business for Eventus Security, and I take pride in mentioning about. Syed, you can stop presenting for a minute. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Syed. We have conducted, this is our second round of session covering DPDPA. So the first session, though for those of you who have already been a part of it, we covered the basics of DPDPA. What does it mean for companies? Who is it applicable for? And uh, what are the next steps that you should abide by? What does the DPDPA Act entail? And what are the kind of compliances that you're looking at, penalties that you're looking at? We covered all of those. This is a follow-up session for the DPPA compliance. In the first part, we ensured that we make you aware of what does the DPDPA Act tell you, what does it entail, who is it applicable for, and the penalties. And now we get into execution. So we are primarily looking at, okay, now that we've learned about DPDPA, how do we execute it? What is the roadmap, and what do we do primarily to ensure that our organizations, whichever we are representing, is DPDPA compliant? Most of you might be at the start of the journey. Some of you might have implemented, or some of you might be looking for improvement areas. So we would want to cover all of those in this session. And happy to introduce Mr. Shahid Saroz Ali, the founder and CEO of PurpleCop. He has close to over a decade of experience in governance, risk and compliance, and in information security. So he'd be walking you through the entire roadmap of how to implement and ensure that you also have all of your questions and queries answered during the session. And we'd be happy to take up all of those questions during the session. Please remain on mute because it's a larger audience. It's a webinar. You can drop in your queries in the Q&A section, and we'd be happy to answer it at the end of the session. So we'd keep it for a quick 25 minutes. So Syed would be presenting. And post that, we would also have a 5-minute Q&A where you can ask your questions. You can start dropping it as and when you pop it up, right? So post the session, we would also give you the contact details of if you would want assistance in getting this implemented, what does it take for you? You can always reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you. And you would also be receiving a CPE certificate at the end of the session. We would explain about it, right? So without any further ado, I hand it over to Syed Sharaz Ali, who's an esteemed partner of and the founder and CEO of PurpleCop. And over to you, Syed.
Thank you so much, Sri, for this wonderful introduction, and thank you so much for joining this webinar. So today's agenda, what we are covering in this, we are covering the how this personal data breaches. We understand that thing, the breach notification as per the DPDPA, we need to do within 72 hours. Common mistakes which companies do during the breach. What is the data protection officer role, board accountability and leadership, vendor and processor risk, your contract carry liabilities, your fictional breach case walkthrough, incident response readiness self-assessments, and your how you are going to be get a roadmap of DPDP in 90 days. So these are the things which we are going to cover in this scenario. So when you talk about the understanding the personal data breach, so data breach is something where you will find a unauthorized access which is not authorized to see the data, and they will come and see the data. Unauthorized disclosure, by default you just simply send mail to that person who don't belong to that data. Your S3 bucket from AWS is open. Loss or theft of personal data, some employee simply lost their laptops and it is not encrypted. Alteration of personal data, somebody tamper or somebody alter any personal data without information. So these are called a personal data breach. Some common examples I told you: ransomware attack, loss of company laptop, email sent to the wrong recipient who don't belong to that data, cloud storage misconfigurations like your S3 bucket thing, insider misuse of consumer data sometimes is done by the employees. So when you talk about any breach, it's not always a cyber attack, it is a human error as well. What are the best practices in breach notification? What are the best practices? First of all, you need to understand the window. It is 72 hours window which is telling by the DPDPA Act that you need to respond to those within these 72 hours. So first, what you will do when the breach occurs, detect the incident. You need to detect what the incident, you need to check what about the incident, you need to check the logs and detect through your SIM tool, through the employee complaint, then contains the breach. You can isolate the system. You can, if you see that there is any storage bucket which is public, you can off it, then access the impact. You can access the impact of that incident. And when you talk about this incident, the impact of this incident is to these individual, to these systems and all. Then you notify relevant authorities. Authorities means you can say simply to your stakeholders, you can say to the data protection boards, you need to notify them. If you notify them to the data protection board as well, it is sense a mitigation step according to the board. Inform affected individuals. Whoever PII is just going to be harmed through that attack, through that breach, you need to inform them. Then you begin the recovery activities. Whatever recovery activities you need to know, you can just simply start doing that thing, like making the storage some sort of in the put MFA, put the recovery and all that thing. What are the best practice? Maintain an incident response plan. There always a incident response plans. There always the incident response team who know its activity. Everybody have a certain incident response plan. Every company need that, because when incident happen, there is a clear communication that this person have this kind of responsibility. So it's a kind of checklist. When any incident happen, you know who is responsible. Every department know what to do. You need to preserve the evidences. Don't never delete logs, never delete anything, because it will kill your forensic, it will kill the harm of investigators. So always preserve evidences. Document every action. You need to maintain logs of every action which is happening. Keep leadership informed. It is very necessary to inform your stakeholders, to your leadership, that this incident happened and we are doing this thing. Whenever there is a delay in reporting, it increase the your reputational, financial and regulatory risk as well. Now, what are the common mistakes during a breach? You when you talk about good response, you activate incident response team, because everything is there, which is you need to know. Incident response team is quite capable to handle the response, and they know what the best options are. Preserve logs and evidences. Never tempered log and evidences. Always preserve the logs. If, for example, if someone come up in your storage as 3 buckets, so their login and their things, the logs should be preserved. Inform legal and management. Always inform legal and management. The reason, when you are making it public, when you are making this public, so the legal will give you the words, the legal will give you the picture, the shape, how you are communicate this thing legally to the to the, you can say, data principles, to the regulatory. So that is why you need to inform the legal and management. Follow documented procedure. As I told you, the checklist, if there is a checklist, you don't have to go here and there. You need from one to last what you need to do. This is the best practice. Communicate transparently. So all the departments should communicate transparently. There is nothing that you need to say something to regulator, to that department, to that. If you communicate inconsistently, it is giving you a very bad reputation. So definitely the poor response consists the opposite of this, like ignore early warning signs. If someone complained, if there is some sort of signs through that, do not need to ignore it. You have to go with the root cause. Never delete logs, never delay escalations. You need to inform your legal, you need to inform the board as per the duration, like within 72 hours. Wait for complete information. Never wait for complete information, because when any breach happen, it will never come up with the complete information. You need to sense that, you need to put the things, and you need to do the action. Okay, never just wait and just see. Okay, try to bring some action in that scenario which create the hygiene in the environment. Communication inconsistently, or as I told you, when you communicate, you need to communicate transparently, not inconsistently. You said something to board, something to the owners and all that. It will create confusions. The other, which is very famous topic nowadays, that we need data protection officer. Do we need one? So what data protection officer do? First of all, they monitor privacy compliance. They totally monitors your SLAs. They totally monitor how the things consents are going. They totally monitor if any upgrade comes in the DPDPA, are we implementing. They advise management what we need to do, what we need to procure, what current stage we are, and how we are going to proceed. Coordinate the breach response. If any breach happen, he is the person who is going to coordinate between all stakeholders, regulators, and the team. He support privacy governance. The governance structure becomes strong when DPO is in picture. He simply help you out to support the privacy governance in that scenario. When you talk about privacy governance, he understand how to deal with the stakeholders, what are the regular permissions you required. He act as contact for regulators. If any breach happen, if there is any renewal happen, if there is any inquiry happen by the regulators, by any sort of vendor, customers, which has come to at that level where they need to present it, any DPDPA documents, anything in that scenario, any vendor DPA, data processing agreement. So DPO is something which take the responsibility and do that thing. So we do have options in any company. You do have options like you can choose internal DPO in your company. You can choose external consultant. You can choose DPO as a service as well. What are the benefits of DPO as a service? It's a lower operational cost because DPO is some sort of resources which comes in a, you can say in a good tier, and definitely he need to connect with the stakeholders. So that type of experience needed in the privacy where you can talk with the stakeholders and the higher management. So that's why you are not getting the full-time DPO at a lower cost. So when you have a DPO as a service, it's a lower operational cost. You directly access to the privacy professional who is experienced. It's a scalable support. When you talk about DPO as a service, it's not about the individual. It's about the whole team which he have. So there is an independent oversight. There is not a bias thing. So it has an independent oversight. There is no internal pressure. So definitely many companies go for DPO as a service, but you need to be an SDF, significant data fiduciary. When you are processing large data, then you need a DPO. Otherwise, a privacy nodal officer will work. Now the other thing is board accountability and personal liability of directors. So when you talk about this topic tell you about that when you talk about privacy is not that when you talk about privacy, IT is only responsible. Board members also carry responsibility in this scenario. So what board should do? Board should establish governance. They should make a governance where who is the approver, who is the reviewer. They have the idea about the privacy and they make a whole strategy about the privacy and approve those policies according to that. They allocate resources. When you talk about allocating resources, it's not about resources, it's also about the tools as well. We do have a privacy OS, which is, many boards approve that, and privacy OS something which is automating all your consent management, your DSR request, and lot of other things as well. Board also monitor compliance risk. They have to go with the quarterly meeting at least to see the compliance risk, that what are the risks are generating through on our personal PIIs. They also see the incident reports. If any incident happen quarterly, they need to check that these are the major incident. Let's see what are the RCS, what are the lesson learned through that. They promote the culture of accountability. Once the stakeholders taking the accountability, so it is very good for the team. you know it is very good for those people who are under the board, that they can sense the culture that the board is taking the accountability. We do have certain sense of responsibility as well. So what are the questions which every board must ask? Where is our sensitive data? They need to understand that where their sensitive data is aligned. What are our highest privacy risk? What are their highest privacy risk? If something happen, what are the highest privacy risk? Because if you talk about, if you are not able to inform the things to the board, if any breach happen, you are not able to inform it to the holders, PII holders, to the board. What will happen? There are two penalties of 200 CR. One, you don't inform the board, data protection board. Second, you don't inform data principal, so it becomes 400 CR. As we prepared for a breach, that's the same thing. Who is accountable? Who is responsible? That should be clearly defined. So that is something where board come in picture. In this, because I have an experience, I have 10 to plus years of experience doing ISO, SOC 2, PCI and other things. But when you talk about DPDPA, The CFOs is also involved in the conversations when I'm talking about DPDPA, the legal department, the financial department, and definitely the IT department. All three departments combine and sit and say, yeah, tell Sheroz what we are going to do once we are going to establish the governance of this. So it is something which help every team to collaborate and do their best. What is vendor and processor risk? It's not necessary that the breach happen inside or from your side, but if your vendor is there, if your vendor have any weak security controls and they don't have any sort of incident reporting methodology, so it is definitely your responsibility, because you are a data fiduciary. Your company is the data owner. You are providing this data and giving permission to the vendor to process that data. So vendor, and when you talk about vendor and processing risk, the contract is something which is very, very key in that scenario. That is called data processing agreement. So when you talk about vendors, you have cloud providers, you have SaaS platform, you have IT service providers, you have HR systems, you have payroll. What risk include weak security controls? You don't check their security controls, that they have basic MFA in place. They are using that scenario, like if they have Microsoft Defender is there, the Intune is there, if they have that kind of certain things. The third party breaches, if any third party breaches, what will be the incident thing, what will be the incident reporting thing, if there is any unauthorized subcontracting is going on, there is any poor incident reporting. So these are the risk which is included in the vendor. So what every vendor contract should include, when you talk about every vendor, the thing include is security requirements, a basic cyber security and hygiene, confidentiality obligation that they cannot share this data to everyone, breach notification timeline. If any breach happened to the vendor premises which is related to that data which we are sharing, so they need to simply notify us. Data processing clause, definitely there should be a purpose in the processing. So we will tell them that, yeah, this is the purpose and you need to process under these guidelines. You have the audit right. You just tell them about the audit rights, that you have the audit right to audit them as well as their sub processor. Data retention and deletion should be there, that they are possessing data for how much time, and if they are, deleting the data, there should be a deletion certificate as well, which you will get in the end. Sub-processor approval, they will definitely take, if this data is using by sub-processor, they need to take what about the business continuity, liability and indemnifications in that. So if you are talking about vendor processor ring, you need to take care of every vendor in that scenario. This is a small breach case study. It is just a healthcare, ABC Healthcare. They are, healthcare cloud vendor accidentally exposed a storage bucket. This is the most common thing which you find when there is breach happen. They accidentally expose a storage bucket which contain patient records. So what kind of data exposed? It's a PHI, patient name, phone number, medical records, and insurance. Now, what is your discussion question? First, you need to get the responsibility, that who is responsible for this. There should be a clear cut thing, that who is responsible. Then you need to check who is affected, who individuals are affected, data principal are affected, because it is very necessary that within 72 hours of window, you need to tell those data principals. It is not like a public thing. You are just simply, like, if for example, if it is 100,000 data, you don't have to publicly just give it in the newspaper. Okay, that I just, publish this in the newspaper. You need to give the notification to every individual, send them email according to the DPDPA. Now, the thing that what happened in first 24 hours, that in first for 24 hours, what you do, like as a containment, as a escalation, as your response to the stakeholders and all that things, you need to discuss that thing. How should management respond? There should be an incident response plan which a management is going throughout. So these are the type of discussion questions which you need to keep in mind. So when you talk about this, what are the key lessons? Whenever this thing happen, contain first, make that bucket offline, because no one is going to check the data as much as they can. If it is open in public, people are coming, and if any person want, they can just simply come on the bucket and it is open, and they can simply see the data because it is publicly available. So you need to make that storage bucket offline. Evidences, as I told you, never delete logs. Put screenshots, store everything, because once forensic, once RCA, you are going to do that. It is something which is very, very helpful when any board will come for any sort of you can say due diligence, or inside you are doing that thing. Escalate immediately. Definitely you need to escalate with it to your CEO, to your legal, to your board. Legal is a very important thing, because they are always tell you that what kind of things you need to put, what kind of words you need to send to your data principal, which is legally giving you a surety that you are safe in that scenario. What would your organization do first, and do you have a plan? So you need to understand that incident response plan is something which you need to make, which you need to test when anything happens. So this is the thing which you go and learn with this case study. Now, the second, as I told you about incident response plan. So it is a simple self assessment thing that you need to check when I'm telling it yes or no. Incident response plan exists, yes or no. Privacy rules are clearly defined, yes or no. Employees know how to report incident. It is a training part, yes or no. Vendors are regularly assessed. So when you talk about vendors, you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. So these vendors are regularly assessed by you. The due diligence or the audit is going through your company to those vendor. Data inventory is maintained. Data inventory, because whenever you want to start any sort of act, any sort of privacy thing, the data inventory should be there. You need to check the data inventory, classify the data through the PIIs, that you have these elements like Aadhaar, KYC, PAN card. So it is maintained or not. Leadership receive breach update. If any breach happen, your leadership receive that update and they work accordingly or not. And tabletop exercise. Incident response plans exist is always depend on your tabletop exercise. Try to bring much tabletop exercise once you have an incident response policy. So it will help you out to get the outcomes to your learnings. In the tabletop exercise, you will also get that what things we are missing. Are we able to communicate properly? Are our people, are the person who is responsible act properly? What are the things? Because of the tabletop exercise you have, you can improve gradually once you have this tabletop exercise as well. So in these all the things you can see what is, yes, if you have 6 to 7, there is a strong readiness. You just need to work on the continuous improvement. If there is 3 to 5, you need an improvement. If there is 0 to 2, I think there is something you need to do and you are at a high risk. So try to go up with those scenarios. Now, what are the methodologies which we are bringing? It is a 90 days DPDPA roadmap. It is a practical setup for the mid-market organization. Why I'm telling it, it is for the mid-market organization. In my experience, if I talk about a big enterprise, they have data classification. They know what is privacy. They have, tools. They know if any incident coming and this incident coming to that asset which contains PII. They know how to react. They have incident plan. So generally in enterprise level, they are pretty much mature in the basic cyber security as well as in the privacy, because they understand the reputational damage. Now, come to the point when how the mid-market organizations, what is the roadmap? First is scope and define. You need to scope and define all the governance thing. Like for example, when you talk about the governance, you have to make a stakeholder, you need to make an approver, you need to make a reviewer, you need to make the scope that which people are coming, what assets are coming, everything is coming in that scenario. Then you do the data discovery. In the data discovery, you are going to check that what assets contains PII, what type of data elements you have across your environment, and you can understand the sensitivity of the asset. Once you have the data discovery, then you provide the gap assessment. You can check what gaps we are having as per the DPDPA, as per the privacy thing. Yeah, once the data is referred, these are the gaps, that these are our critical asset, these are our crown jewels, and we are not able to get a cyber security hygiene on that. So we need to do that thing. First thing, whenever you are going for the DPDPA, just to remember one thing, you need a basic cyber security hygiene. You don't have to be ISO 27001 certified, but you need to be compliant, equivalent to that, where you have MFA, encryption, decryption, all these basic level of cyber security hygiene should be there. It is very important. Then you have a remediation plan, and then you can report and present to the stakeholders. Yeah, after that remediation, we did all these things. And other 90 day, what can realistically you will achieve? First, in 30 days, you can simply get the data inventory and ROPA. ROPA is something which you need to present when any audit is coming through the board, through any sort of vendor, through any sort of regulatory body which required. So first, in these 30 days, you definitely reach out with the data inventory and ROPA, and through the privacy OS, this thing can be done within 2 weeks. Now the second 31 to 60 control build, you need to build consent, DSR and DPA. Consent management is that you need to take consent whenever you are storing the data of any data principal, and it shows the purposes that why you are storing, and purposes show the retention of that thing, that you are storing this data for this much time interval. DSR is a data subject request portal where where any data principal or data subject, a person whose data you are carrying, they will come, they will put a request, and request is like simply that they want to access this data, means they want to see what kind of data you are holding. If they want to change anything in their data, if they want to have any sort of grievance, whatever it is, they can just simply, you have to build that thing. Then there's a data processing agreement. It will take 30 days. Again, if you will go with privacy OS, it will hardly take 7 days for you to contain all these things. Then the operation, train, test and monitor. So it is totally up to you. You are going to train all the people in the company. It will, if you have a big size company, it is very difficult. We have LMS in that. You need to test everything, that everything is working properly. If you are just taking consent, if any consent is going to be approved, it is coming in the ROPA, because ROPA contains your data subject, your vendor, your retention and blah blah other things as well. So this is something which you need to test and monitor as well. Now, these are the things which you have in 90 days roadmap, which we can come up like within 1 to 30 days, we can cover up through the tool, because tool have that kind of tendency where there are a lot of automation, where there are a lot of things can be automatically built in that scenario. And you can also within 90 days, you can also get your multiple framework done, because when you have ISO 27001 access management, or you are using SOC 2 type 2, it is basically we can engrave those act of DPDPA in your existing policy. So you do not need to make a fresh policy. If you have, we can make a multiple framework in this scenario. So what privacy OS will help you, we will create a ROPA, and you are always ready. We can create consent manager. We have a DSR workflow. We have a retention scheduler. We have a breach response module. So what is breach response module? We integrate your SIM tool to our breach response module. Anything happen to that asset which contains PII, the SIM will just generate an alert. And if this happened to, and if this affecting to that asset which contains PII, automatically it will come in breach, and the incident thing will happen, and the notification will go to those people who are responsible once it's come in scope. A whole compliance dashboard. Your You have a whole compliance dashboard, like when you talk about DPDP, all policies are there. If you talk about that, all evidences are there, all controls are met, all act are met. So you have a whole compliance dashboard where you can see that you are 100% compliant to DPDP or any other privacy framework. So it is something which is very great to you guys, this privacy OS which we built. So I think that's all from my side. And guys, you can ask questions as much as you can. So we will try to, get the things done and try to answer as many as questions I can.
I think some of the Q&As have come in already.
Yeah, I'm just checking it.
Yeah. It's there in the chart,
Yeah.
starting with
So yeah,
what
what
is
is
privacy
privacy
OS? Yeah.
OS? So let me give you a very quick thing. This is a privacy OS. So you have privacy OS. We will integrate everything from privacy OS. Then we get all the assets at one places. We integrate through your OS, or we'll give you the light agent. Then the data classification will done automatically. All the asset which contains PII, the data classification will done, and you get all the classified asset. Then we are making ROPA automatically in that scenario. You will get ROPA. You will get all the purposes over here. These are the purposes you can see that DPDPA have 8 to 10 purpose, which I told in my earlier session. So all purposes are here. You get all sort of data subjects over here, like it is your vendor, client, visitor, whoever it is. Then these are the consent forms. It is in English, Hindi, and Tamil. You can see we have all 22 languages, which is auto selected. Then the consent records, when anyone give you the consent through any channel, whether it is your email, whether it is your website, whatever it is, you get all the consent records over here. You can see the deletion. You can see when it expire, when it's granted. You can see the cookies as well. When you talk about cookies, yes, we do have all the cookies thing over there on your website, and all these cookies will come and just get in your ROPA thing as well. Consent managers are there. You can see and you can add your consent manager. All the DSR requests which is coming from your public library, you can get all the DSR thing over here, correction eraser, and it is automated. You can just simply give a one click, automatically this thing is going to solve. This is something which we did and it is brilliant. Breach management is there. When we connect to your SIM, automatically everything will come up and see in that scenario. So I'm just giving you an overview. We have data privacy impact assessment over here. Any activity which consists large processing internally and externally, you have these kind of things. So this is an OS which contains vendor, threat modeling, all these things in that scenario. It is a complete tool. So whoever need a demo, definitely we can put up in that scenario. So what actually the penalties amount and what trigger each one. So I covered these penalty amounts in my session. First, I'll share you the list and how it is triggered. I'll definitely share you the list. It will start from 250 CR to 50 CR. So we will share you that whole list. In case of cloud SaaS platform data company who will be responsible, you are always responsible. Data fiduciary is responsible because you are telling your provider to, get the things done, process the data on your behalf. But the best part is that you have certain sort of documentation which is called data processing agreement, which help you out. How data discovery is happening. So data, if you want to do it through the tool, we will just simply connect, get all the assets through your AD. We do have a lightweight agent as well. We will install lightweight agent to your endpoints, and we have only read only permission. So we will go and through the regex, we will just check out the Aadhaar and email and invoices and all these things. There are somewhere around 64 elements which we are going to check. How about API integration? We have 250 plus integration, Arun. And if you need any other integration which we don't have, we can simply create within 24 to 48 hours. Can you happen in a breach? Yes, as I told you, when you talk about breach notification, yes, we can help you out. Our SIM is going to integrate with your SIM is going to, sorry, integrate with our system. So any breach happen and it will affecting an asset which contains PII. So the automatically it will pop up. And now you need to do in scope and out scope. Sometime it was false positive and all that scenario. So that is the thing. Yes, you will get the recording. The recording is there in the YouTube channel of Eventus Security. After that, we will share that. DPDP already enforced. So when you talk about enforcement, you are talking that DPDP is already enforced or not? Yes, DPDP already tried to, this act is passed in 2023 and in 2026, the board is going to commence and definitely next year they are going to ask a lot of questions. How the tool is handling unstructured data during the data discovery. So basically we designed a tool in that form where they can just simply, there is a regex. So they can simply check all the things like for Aadhaar 1234, 1234, 1234. For PAN, these are the keywords. For email, these are the things. For bill invoice, these are the things. So that's kind of parameter which we give where we can get. So there is like 80 to 85% there is structured data which we can get, and there is 10 to 15% unstructured data as well in the classification. The agent communication ports need to be for sure, definitely viral. We can definitely give you that. If you can just book a demo with us, I'll come up with my technical team and they will just tell you each and everything that how you are going to onboard this thing and how you are going to get, on-prem or on cloud. And this tool is available on-prem as well as on cloud. So when you talk about if any people who is from the banking side, if any people from the manufacturing side who are running with the OT and other things, definitely we can have this on-prem and cloud solution as well. And when you talk about cloud SaaS solution, it is totally in India. We have this residence. There will be no residency issue, and we are not going to see your data, and it is totally encrypted. So don't get confused on that. So when you talk about costing, definitely it is depend on the data volume you are handling, and in data classification, the number of assets you have. So this is the simple common factors. Are any questions? How
There are
does
two
privacy
questions in
OS
the
handle
Q&A,
data?
Syed.
Yeah. I'm just, how does privacy OS handle data retention schedules and automated deletion? So when you're talking about how we are handling data retention, so generally we have a data retention policy. In this policy, for example, if some data principal ask about to delete his data, and it is a financial transaction, it is the financial data. So you need to retain this data for 7 years according to the GST, according to the income tax. So we have these, central and state compliance as well, whereas what DPDP says. So always state and central compliance will go up in that scenario. So that's why we have that kind of procedure where we'll take the retention period, and through in when you are writing a purpose in a consent, when we are just putting the purposes, every purpose has by default a retention and deletion period. So whenever everyone get the consent, by default you get the retention and deletion through that thing, through the purpose. The purpose added, the retention and deletion will calculate it in that way, and we have both standard. Okay. Yes, Shriram. Uh, you were telling something. Now this is a
No, there are
bank
a few
collect
questions in the
customer mobile
Q&A chat
numbers, and
also. This is the meeting chat. Yeah.
when the meeting started, let me go up. Does privacy OS customer consent management? Yes, privacy OS we cover. Does privacy OS support consent management in multiple languages? We have 22 languages. All the languages which is required, yes, we have. Can we map our existing ISO 27001 controls to DPDPA inside the tool? You can map your existing 27001 controls to DPDPA. Definitely you need to map it, because when you talk about 27001 2022 in this framework, you are mentioning your cyber security hygiene. So you need to, map these controls. Definitely. For the startup organization need DPO? No, DPO don't need for startup. They don't need for the startup, because a privacy nodal officer will work. Remember, currently no one is legally bound to get DPO. No one is legally a SDF, which is significant data fiduciary. But I am giving you the example. Amazon is SDF, LIC is SDF, SBI is SDF. Companies who are churning an extensive, a high level of high volume data, they are SDF. But currently there is no legal bounding. After the board is established in November and December, they will just give a certain sort of eligibility criteria, but we can understand that who are SDF. So startup is not an SDF. An SDF is something who need a DPO. Okay, it is compulsory. They need a data privacy impact assessment as well. They are bound to do that. But as a startup, Mr. Dinesh, you do not need a DPO. A privacy nodal officer will work. And secondly, you do not need a data privacy impact assessment as well. We do have that option in our tool, but it is for the enterprises. It is for the big clients. Okay. How the legal team, how does privacy compliance DPDPA storage limit, how does privacy? So when you talk about a compliance with DPDPA storage limitation principle, storage limitation is directly coming from the retention and deletion. You cannot take data forever. So when you talk about retention and deletion, we do have that kind of scenario through the purpose. Whenever we define these 10, 12 purposes, when we are defining a purpose that we are collecting data for marketing, this is the example. So for marketing, we collect the data and the duration is that much. So whenever a person tick that thing, accept that thing, automatically they have that kind of storage limitation to the company that they can store data to that scenario. So I think I already covered a lot of questions in that.
Syed, there are three questions in the meeting chat that you can look at, starting from Mohammed Mazhar.
Was there a bank
The
collect
last three questions.
customer
Yeah.
mobile number or email for OTP? Later it's sending promotion like loan offer. No, if they are sending any promotional thing, it is NC. They are not compliant because if they want to send any promotional things like loan offer or something like that, if they want to do that, so only thing which they need to, they first get a fresh consent. So when you are talking about consent, you know, when you are talking about consent, the consent should be different for everything. And when you talk about consent, if you take consent for only KYC processing, you need to take another consent for the marketing. Okay. So that is the thing you are going to do that. So just the last questions. Using a regex alone for other detection can result in high volume false positive. Do you have any other validation such as yes, checksum validation, the number detector, either valid or Aadhaar number. Yes, so yes, definitely patch pattern is definitely brought by design. Then you talk about where of checksum validation, where Aadhaar use the where of algorithm and mathematical checksum, where the I think 12 digit is check digit right from the first 11. A valid Aadhaar number must satisfy this kind of algorithm. Yes, we do have that kind of algorithm which decrease the false positive, and the layer 3 is the structure rules that first digit cannot be 0 or 1. Like I'm just giving the example. So these kind of, and the fourth layer is contextual signals. You like contextual signals, like I say Aadhaar UID, UIDAI, these are the contextual signals. So these are the certain layers which we are decreasing the false positive in that, and that sometimes you can also the format normalization you can say as well, that there are multiple formats, so we will normalize. So these are the something which I want to tell. There are certain levels. So pattern matching is regex first, then the second one is wear off, then the third one is the structural basis. The fourth one is some sort of contextual signals like UID, Aadhaar or something like that. Then the fifth layer is format normalization. This is something which we have to, to decrease that thing.
Saib, there's one last
There
question.
is, yeah, there is
Yeah, yeah.
about the, yeah, for the hospital. I also, give you the use case of the hospital. So currently, when you talk about the critical industries, and the critical industries is something, when you talk about critical industries, hospitals contains PHI. So it is a, health thing. Yes. So when you talk about Apollo, when you talk about Fortis, they are something definitely they are coming up with that. So what they are doing first, in every DPDPA compliance, the hospital is a legal term, flag DPDPA. What is our maximum penalty exposures, and are we currently compliant? This is something which every hospital or every industry need to check. You have to answer this thing. Then the other thing which I told you, they need to go up with the data inventory, that what they discovered, hospital management systems, your patient name, your DOB, your Aadhaar, your address, your medical history, whatever thing, your lab, if you have a lab or a third party lab, they also have blood reports and all these kind of things. You need to come up with that. Your insurance portal, your patient mobile apps, your HR system, you need to check. Then there will be a gap assessment, which I told you. So all things come up in that way, which I told you earlier as well, that the gap assessment, that the consent is there, that if the patients are informed, if anything happen, if they are taking with lab, data minimization is there. If any application collecting data, these kind of things, you should go up with that scenario. Then there is something, as I told you about 90 days plan, you can come up with these 90 days plan. So these are the 3 4 things which any PHI or be it any company is going to check. First, what trigger, what they have to start, what is their maximum penalty exposure, are they currently compliant? The second thing is their data inventory is something which is the first stage. First, you go with the data inventory thing. You need to classify. You need to classify that what currently, you know, PII or PHI we are containing, and is it secure? Then after that, we will come up with that these are all having the consent thing. all the things which is coming to the third party, to the vendor, you need to check that we have a data processing agreement with them. If you don't have a SIM tool, you also need to check one thing, that if you don't have a SIM tool, you can manually go up with the breach management system. So these are the basic things. And if you want to discuss, definitely we can have a 30 minutes call, a demo call in that scenario, where I can just tell you about the things.
The unstructured data, I think you've answered it already. Perfect. Uh, I think
Yeah.
you're good with
So
this, Sai.
yeah, I think we are good. So now the last question is, let me check what is the last question. So what I can just scenario, because it's 45 minutes are over. So for sure, if you have any other questions, we can just connect. So BFSI, Aniket, what I want to tell you, that we are dealing with BFSI companies. We are doing DPDP for a lot of BFSI companies. We can connect on call, and we can give you the example on that. So why unstructured data is the hardest problem. So unstructured data in typical organization, what is it? It is email and attachments, your PDF documents, your Excel files, your CCTVs and video. So when you talk about this, we have connectors and source scanning for that. So we just get the repository type, like if you talk about your file servers, cloud storage, in that scenario, then the context extraction should be there. Before the data can be analyzed, it must be extract from its container, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, and these kind of things. Then we have detection techniques applied on extracted text. We will try this regex pattern again. We will try the name NER. There is one model called NER. So we have these kind of contextual classification, all these things we are also doing in that scenario. And there is also a manual thing as well, which we will introduce to our clients. And I think I try to give answers as much as I can. I try to uh, give you the answer where, and for the next thing, you can talk to Shri, and you can get a 30 minutes gap assessment thing as well. You can also check a privacy OS demo as well. It's totally up to you. And you can plan a demo with Shri, and we can definitely connect, and I'll explain you each and everything. And if you have certain questions, you can bring as much as questions as you can, and I'll try to solve it and give you how to do the gap assessment, and also give you the checklist as well if you want.
Syed, thank you so much. It was an insightful session, and I think you have covered most of what is required for any organization, at irrespective of the maturity of DPDP that they are in, to completely adopt and implement the Act, the compliances, and the norms that are required by the Act. Thank you so much. It was a great session. And to all the participants, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the session and take away some insights back home to start your journey with DPDP or mature your journey with DPDP, whichever stage of the implementation that you are in. The two things. One, for all the participants, you would receive one CP credit as a participant of this session. My team would be reaching out to each of you in the registered email ID through which you registered for the webinar. And we would also be posting the video, recorded video of this session on YouTube. Both session 1 and session 2 would be available. So for those of you who missed session 1, please do refer our Eventus YouTube page, and you'll be able to find those videos. It would be posted very shortly, and you can watch the space, right? So the YouTube link is also given in the chat, in the screen that you see. And we would continue to have such sessions on multiple topics. We are a primary cybersecurity consulting and services provider, so primarily operating in the information security space. So you can keep watching the space. We will be coming out with a lot of such webinars in the future, primarily in DPDP compliance, SOC services, cyber resilience services, and all of these. Please do keep a watch on this space. And we would also be reaching out to you to get the certificates, CP certificates done up. In case you have not given an organizational email ID, if it's a personal email ID, we would not be able to get it to you. So please do give us the official email ID so that we can tag the organization and then give you the certificates, right?
Yeah, quickly, another very important thing, just make a note of this email ID we have put on the screen. And though we believe that most of the questions we have answered, but there would be more following questions that you can post, you can send across over this email ID. And even if you have interest to book a full-fledged demo, please do send in your requests. The email ID is given on the screen. Please make a note of this. Yeah, thank you.
And our representatives are present across the country in majority of the cities. So there'll be somebody to either visit you in person or over a virtual call to support you with the implementation. So once you reach out to this email ID that is present in the screen, it would be routed to the respective regions seller team and the consultants who are present there. And they would in turn reach out to you to further schedule the next round of discussion and any kind of support that you require specifically for the implementation or for your maturity journey, right? One more interesting analogy before we close the session. I think all of us, including the participants who are there on the call, would have some PII data present across multiple platforms where we have given our consent, our private information, address, phone number, photos, all of these. So I think it's more of a responsibility than the government imposing a compliance. Within our respective organizations, we'll try to implement it. And it becomes a national collective responsibility for us to do and implement this act and the governance that is required post that as well. You've been a great audience. Thank you so much. There were a lot of questions. I hope we were able to answer most of it. If you do have further questions, please feel free to reach out to the email ID. And signing off, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Get compliant because board is coming.
Thank you. Good day.